Most people think John D. Rockefeller became the richest man in history because he simply found oil. They're wrong. He didn't win by having a better product or a bigger drill. He won by building an invisible system architecture that forced his competitors to fund his rise while they were actively trying to destroy him. While the world was looking at barrels, Rockefeller was looking at the code of the industry itself. This is the definitive story of how one man engineered the $400 billion railroad glitch, the greatest legal heist in the history of global finance. In 1870, the American oil industry was a total bloodbath. It was a wild west of energy. Supply was sky high, prices were crashing through the floor, and shipping was a logistical nightmare that bankrupted anyone who wasn't careful. The product wasn't the problem, the infrastructure was. Every producer was at the mercy of the railroads, paying exorbitant fees just to get their oil to the market. While everyone else fought over leaking barrels on muddy docks and shouted at train conductors, Rockefeller sat in a quiet office looking at the ledgers. He realized a fundamental truth. The man who controlled the flow of the oil ultimately controlled the price of the world. Rockefeller didn't beg for better rates. He built a deal the railroads couldn't refuse. He approached three major titans of transport with a secret offer. He promised them a steady, massive, and daily volume of oil, a level of consistency that no other human being on Earth could guarantee. In exchange for this predictability, he demanded a rebate. For every single barrel Standard Oil shipped, he received a 15-cent discount that went straight back into his pocket. But that was just the entry-level glitch. The real move, the one that secured his empire, was a psychological and mathematical trap known as the Drawback. This was the moment the game changed forever. Under this invisible architecture, Rockefeller forced the railroads to pay him a percentage of the shipping costs paid by his own competitors. Think about the math here. Every time a rival oil man shipped a single barrel to market, a piece of that money was automatically diverted and deposited into Rockefeller's bank account. He was literally being paid by his enemies to put them out of business. It was a mathematical trap with no escape. The more his rivals worked to save their businesses, the more they funded Rockefeller's expansion. It was a self-sustaining loop of wealth creation that defied every known law of traditional competition. As his rivals grew desperate and their margins vanished, their prices plummeted to nothing. Rockefeller didn't just compete with them. He waited for the system to break them. Then he absorbed them for pennies on the dollar. Within months, he owned 90% of the American oil market. He didn't have better oil. He had a better architecture of distribution. By the time the federal government realized the glitch even existed, his net worth had ballooned to the equivalent to 2% of the entire US economy. He had successfully turned a commodity into a private subscription service that he controlled with an iron grip. Today, adjusted for inflation, his fortune would be worth over $400 billion. He understood a truth most people miss. The structure of your information determines the absolute height of your empire. You aren't losing to competition, you're losing to systems you haven't built yet. So I have to ask, was Rockefeller a visionary who brought order to a chaotic world? Or was he a parasite who killed the American dream to build his own? The comments are already a war zone. Let me know which side of history you stand on. My name is the Wealth Architect. Subscribe to see history through the lens of power.